Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome to today's press conference by Vice President Maros Sefcovic after the second meeting of the EU-UK Joint Committee. The Vice President will brief you on this morning's meeting, and then we will take a few questions that are specifically related to the Joint Committee and the implementation of the withdrawal agreement. So, without further ado, I pass the floor to the Vice President.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to report back to you today after our second meeting of the Joint Committee on the implementation and the application of the withdrawal agreement. On the EU side, I was joined by Michel Barnier, the European Commission's chief negotiator, as well as 15 member states representative, and I really would like to thank sincerely Michael Gove and his team for their constructive attitude today. I have to underline that the meeting took place in a very good atmosphere, and I'm glad that at the end of our discussions we also arrived at some positive results, which I believe would pave the way forward for the proper implementation of the withdrawal agreement. I think it was very important for all of us that this second meeting at the political level took place in June, today, because it testifies to our joint commitment to the proper implementation of the withdrawal agreement and to the important link, the important link with the negotiations on our future relationship. The full and timely implementation of the withdrawal agreement is an essential basis for building confidence and mutual trust between the EU and the UK. As Michel Barnier has repeatedly underlined, that is why the negotiations on the future relationship are also contingent on the faithful implementation of the withdrawal agreement as set out in the EU's negotiation mandate. The meeting of today was the occasion to jointly take stock of the progress made since the last meeting of the Joint Committee at the end of March, and of course to identify remaining difficulties that need to be resolved. Since the last meeting of the Joint Committee, we have launched the work of 5 of the 6 specialised committees foreseen under the withdrawal agreement on citizens' rights, on the protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, financial provisions, the protocol on Gibraltar, and the protocol on the sovereign base areas of the UK in Cyprus. However, with some 6 months to go before the end of the transition period, we still have lots of work to do. And this is true for all work streams, but in particular with regard to the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. The window of opportunity to put in place the operational measures needed to ensure that the protocol can function as intended on the 1st January 2021 is rapidly closing. The last month, the UK government published the command paper setting out its approach for fulfilling its obligation under the protocol. The publication of this paper was welcomed by the EU side as an important step in reflecting the commitment of the UK authorities in the implementation of this protocol. However, this paper does not provide sufficient operational details, and we need to move from aspiration to operation, and fast. As of 1st January 2021, the UK will have to meet all the requirements of the protocol rigorously and effectively. That includes putting in place all necessary checks and controls for goods entering Northern Ireland from Great Britain. That includes applying EU rules on customs and sanitary and phytosanitary protection. And it also includes, according to Article 12 of the protocol, enabling the EU to effectively exercise its right to be present during any activities of the UK authorities related to, amongst other things, the implementation and application of the customs provision of the protocol. The UK should facilitate such a presence and provide EU representatives with the information requested. Only a sound and effective implementation of all these legal obligations can ensure continued peace and stability between all communities on the island of Ireland uphold the Good Friday Belfast Agreement in all its dimensions, while also preserving the EU single market. And I made these points to Minister Gove very clearly. In addition to the protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, we also continued our exchanges on citizens' rights. This is the key priority for both sides. Regarding the EU citizens residing in the UK, we are pleased that 3.1 million EU citizens have already been granted residence status in the UK. At the same time, we are carefully monitoring the situation of more vulnerable citizens that have difficulties applying digitally. And it is also important that EU citizens residing in the UK have access to social benefits in these difficult times in line with the relevant EU rules. These are the rules that still apply to the UK. As for UK nationals residing in the EU, the Commission is very attentive to this issue. We have already published guidelines to support all 27 member states to live up to the commitments of the withdrawal agreement. In the 13 member states that, like the UK, have chosen what is called a constitutive system, we are working to ensure that the procedures for applying for a residence status are simple, easily accessible and clearly communicated. In the 14 member states that have chosen what is called a declaratory system, UK nationals will receive a physical document enabling them to prove their status. The Commission will continue to follow the matter of the citizens' rights very closely. The meeting today was also the occasion to adopt the Joint Committee's first formal decision pertaining to the technical correction of certain number of minor deficiencies and omissions in the withdrawal agreement. And finally, Michael Gove confirmed to me that the UK will not consider an extension of the transition period. From our side, I have taken note of the position of the UK on this issue and have stated, as President von der Leyen has already done, that the EU remains open to such an extension. In this context, we both, with Chancellor Gove, agreed on accelerating the implementation of withdrawal agreement and to accelerate our work. And we also agreed that the Joint Committee should meet again in early September. By this date, we also concluded that specialised committees, including the one on the Northern Ireland Protocol, will meet in the coming weeks. So once again, to conclude, I would like to thank the Chancellor Gove and both teams for today's discussion. Very cordial atmosphere, and I also believe very pragmatic agreement how we are going to work in the next weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. We have time now for a few short questions. As I said at the beginning of this press conference, what we're talking about here is the Joint Committee and the implementation of the withdrawal agreement. We're not talking more broadly about the future relationship negotiations with the UK. So with that, I would like to give the floor to James Crisp.
Hello. Yes, hi. Sorry about that. Thank you, Dan. Ms Sefcovic, the British government has said it's going to backtrack on plans to introduce full border checks with the EU, simply because it's not ready to introduce them by the end of a transition period. How can you be confident that the UK will be ready to carry out customs checks on behalf of the EU in Northern Ireland when it can't even take back control of its own borders?
This issue was not in particular discussed today, and I would say that UK has stated at several occasions that it wants to take back the control, and I would say it up to the UK how they do it. What is, of course, very important for us is the fact that at the end of the transition period, the UK will decide how it wishes to organise its border as a WTO member. I can assure everyone that the EU will continue to fully protect the integrity of the single market and the customs union, as well as its financial interest. And I also have to add that we have repeatedly underlined the importance of UK setting out its plans with regard to all implementation measures prescribed by the Protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, and providing a detailed timetable. I would also add that today we spent quite some time on discussing the enormity of the task if it comes to the proper implementation of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and that we agreed that the acceleration of work is necessary, and we therefore also discussed what type of technical information we need for ourselves in the EU, and I very much welcome our common decision that the Specialised Committee on Ireland Northern Ireland Protocol should meet in coming weeks, and to prepare well for our next meeting on the level of Joint Committee in early September.
Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor now to Jennifer Rankin, The Guardian.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jennifer.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, thank you. Vice President, I wanted to ask you, has there been any agreement on the Commission's wish to have an office in Belfast? Have you made any, has the Commission now moved away from wanting to have that office in Belfast, which the British government said it couldn't allow? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In today's discussion, we also had the intervention from the representatives of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and I think it gave me the opportunity to highlight how important Good Friday Agreement is for the European Union, and how we are going to make everything possible to facilitate North-South trade and to preserve all the progress which was achieved over the last years. At the same time, I was pointing out to the particular articles in the withdrawal agreement which entitles the European Union to have appropriate presence in all implementing activities related to the withdrawal agreement, and it of course focuses very much on performance of the controls and checks. What I suggested to Chancellor Gove was that we have to be very pragmatic about what we see as a technical presence of the EU officials to make sure that all the checks and controls are done properly in full accordance with the EU law, and we also decided that we would continue to discuss this issue in a pragmatic way on the political level, and I believe that we would arrive at satisfactory solutions for both parties.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I would now like to give the floor to Joe Barnes.
Lovely. Can you hear me, Dan?
Yep.
Lovely. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Commissioner. So the protocol currently foresees tariffs to be applied, trade tariffs to be applied between GB and NI going forward, but it does speak about a kind of a list of derogations that can be applied in the future. So have you started looking at this list of potential items that are not deemed at risk of travelling from GB through Northern Ireland and then into the Republic? Because obviously that's something that people are going to be quite interested in regards with businesses that trade mainly between GB and NI. Thank you.
We didn't go to that level of the technical detail today because until we arrived at that station, we really have to cover a lot of ground, making sure that the systems are properly set. And therefore, we devoted quite a bit of time to the discussion how to properly implement the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. And I was very specific what type of solutions we need in the field of VAT collections from the point of view of introducing the system of custom control and so on and so forth. So I think there are very precise expectations and demands on our side to make sure that the system would work properly, and once they are in place we can proceed to discuss other issues. But I think at first we have to make sure that the withdrawal agreement as such is properly implemented in a comprehensive manner, and because we are discussing very broad relationship we have between us, of course the technical details are very, very important. Therefore I'm so glad that we agreed that the specialized committees on this issue will meet in the coming weeks, so it will create, I believe, positive momentum in our discussion on other issues, and I hope that we can arrive at some additional positive conclusions with my counterpart, Chancellor Gove, in early September.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I'd now like to give the floor to Verena Schmidt from DPA. Verena, I think you might need to press the mic button.
Yes, now it's looking better. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Super. Mr. Vice President, with Mr. Gove's final or formal no to the extension of the transition period, is that the definitive end of this debate, or is there a theoretical chance to decide in a different way later on this month? Thank you.
I think that if it comes to this issue, the Chancellor Gove couldn't be clearer. He referred to the very clear position of not asking for the extension, even as you know, our President Ursula von der Leyen was ready to provide for one. And he explained that this was the promise which was given to the British citizens in the electoral campaign, and also Prime Minister Johnson was very explicit on this issue. So he made it very, very clear. And as you know, the only body which can decide about the possible extension of this period is the Joint Committee. We just concluded the proceedings, so I take this as a definite conclusion of this discussion, and therefore I was pleading so much for the acceleration of our work. In my case, on the proper implementation of the withdrawal agreement, but I think that it has also clear implications for the work of Michel Barnier to make sure that we would proceed much faster in the discussion on our future relationship.
Thank you, Vice President. I would now like to give the floor to Jim Brunsden from the FT.
Thanks very much. Do you hear me okay?
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. Two questions, if I may. Firstly, on the Joint Committee, Vice President, you said that you went into this meeting seeking some clear assurances from the UK about its ability and willingness to enforce the Union Customs Code, where it's going to carry out border checks on goods, how it's going to build the IT systems, practical things. Did you get those assurances, or to what extent did you get them? Secondly, I'm going to try my luck on the future relationship, seeing as you just mentioned it. Given that the UK has now definitively rejected any extension to the transition period, how do you see the state of the future relationship talks, and how worried are you about the risk of a no deal, given where we are, and given the fact that Michel Barnier himself has said any deal must be reached by the end of October to be viable?
Thank you very much for both questions. And first on the technical but very important and very sensitive issues. As I said, I listed them very, very concretely, and of course I was highlighting all the obligations which we agreed upon in the withdrawal agreement, and I appreciated the fact that the command paper was sent to us. We see it as a very good first step, but I also explained to my colleague that this is very important by aspirational document, and we need to move from the aspirations to the operational conclusions, to the operations as such. And I suggested that it would be extremely useful if we can get the technical clarifications by the end of this month, and to have the specialized committees meeting organized in the course of the summer, so we can, I would say, bring the momentum into these discussions, and we can also proceed with the important conclusions in early September, because time is really pressing, the clock is ticking, and I think that we need tangible results in that process. And I was very much reassured that this is also the intention of my counterpart, and we agree that we would work on very precise timetable, deadlines and concrete steps which must be taken, and that we will be in touch over the whole period to make sure that if there will be a need, we will be able to provide political steer and necessary push to make sure that all these technical details are properly resolved and the withdrawal agreement is appropriately implemented. If it comes to the future relationship, as you know, here our chief negotiator is Michel Barnier. He was also participating in our discussion today. And I would just underline that what we want is to reach really ambitious deal with the United Kingdom on the basis of the political declaration. We also said it today that we regret that so far there was a limited progress to date, and we believe that it is perfectly possible to succeed on the basis of the existing mandate given to us by the Council. So I hope that the Monday's meeting between the President von der Leyen and the Prime Minister Johnson will lead to a fresh momentum on the UK side. I also can add one more piece of information, and this is the fact that this morning our teams and the teams of Michel Barnier's and Mr. Frost agreed on a very demanding new schedule of the rounds of talks, and also on intensified way of cooperation between the two chief negotiators. So I believe that altogether that set of activities which we discussed today, withdrawal agreement, proper implementation, high-level meeting on Monday, and intensified talks on our future relationship should provide us with adequate also political space to move into the positive developments over the summer, because we know that the autumn is around the corner and 5th of January is not far from that. So we have to work very, very intensively, and this is what we agreed today with Mike Gove, and this, I believe, is the same what was agreed between two of our chief negotiators.
Thank you, Vice President. If I can just add that further details on the upcoming rounds, of course, are available online. It was published this afternoon. So I think we have time for just one final question. I'll give the floor to Catherine Fior.
Okay, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we could hear you, but now we can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay. Yes.
Okay, that's strange. Okay, so my question is, Vice President Sefcovic, is that Northern Ireland's Assembly voted by 50 votes to 38 to request an extension to the transition period. And the protocol on Northern Ireland does require consent from Northern Ireland at a later stage. But would it be your expectation that the government, the UK government that you're dealing with, should be consulting with politicians and businesses in Northern Ireland on the future arrangements? Thank you.
On this topic, I can say that we have the representatives of Northern Ireland intervening today, and I know that there are intensive ongoing contacts between Northern Ireland and UK government. But I'm also bound a little bit by our rules concerning the content of our discussions today, so I can only repeat that the Chancellor Gove was very clear, unequivocal on the fact that the UK is not going to seek the extension, and because this was the last joint committee before the deadlines expire, so we take this decision as a definitive one, and therefore we are pleading for acceleration of work on all fronts so that we could really arrive to the 1st of January with all things which have to be done to be executed and done properly, and that we would be ready as of 1st of January to leave what I believe would be a very close, prosperous and cordial relationship between EU and the UK.
Thank you, Vice President. This now concludes our press conference. Thanks once again to you, Vice President, and thank you to all of you who tuned in remotely today. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.